Hello there, today we're going to be looking at the Matek F411-One Flight Controller. So this is the latest flight controller from Matek. I like my Matek gear. If you've seen some of my other videos, I have Matek boards in pretty much everything I have at this moment in time. Generally because they're really good quality and the price is pretty good for them. So what makes this one a little bit more interesting is that this is a flight controller, a PDB, a OSD as usual, but it also has an FrSky receiver built into it, so hopefully that makes it nice and simple to put together. It is around about £30, so let's see what's in the box. Okay, so let's open it up. So we've got a capacitor that comes with it. We've got a little rubber grommets, as you'd expect, and we have two antennas. So we've got two diversity antennas. That's quite thick cable, and it's not quite as long as my other. Where have I got one of these? Have I got one floating around? No, I don't seem to have any spare antenna cables floating around at this moment in time. But that feels quite short. Might not be, but it does feel a little bit short. So let's have a quick look at the board. So there we go. Let's get that zoomed in. So what you got, usual sort of layout, all in one type layout. So you've got your battery pads at the back. You've got your pads for your ESCs in the corners. You've got signal wire for your ESCs in the there as well. So this is pretty much exactly the same from what I could see as the F405 CTR, which is the latest all-in-one that Matek have had to offer. But what it is missing is, on the back, instead of having your SD card holder, for putting your black box into, you have an FrSky receiver. So usual sort of stuff. So it's pretty much exactly the same layout. So on the back you've got the two little holes. So these are IPEX connectors. So simply put them on. Right. So I've connected up the IPEX connectors. So what we're going to do next in this video is I'm going to try and connect this up to my computer, make sure it all fires up as you'd expect a flight controller to do. I'm then going to bind it to my Tyrannus. Now, one of the things I've been reading online is that there's certain things that don't work with the EU software that my Tyrannus uses. I live in Europe, so I have a EU software on mine. I haven't bothered messing around with anything else. But what I'm going to do is connect it up to that and make sure that all works. Once I've got that working, I'm then going to do a bit of a range test because I'm intrigued of how this performs against something like an XM Plus. Because if it's all in one and it weighs like 10 grams, so it's really, really light, and with the soft mountings, it's kind of the right sort of thing that you want to have in your frame. So I'm going to then wire all this up and see how it goes. Now what I'm going to do is another video. I'm going to build this into a frame and see how it flies. So today we're not going to be doing a flight test of this. What I am going to be doing is a range test to see how it does. I imagine this will perform pretty much the same as a flight test as the Matek F405 CTR, but I haven't got any evidence to that. So I will do another video another time on how this actually flies and how it performs, but that won't be today. So let's cut to getting this connected to the computer.
Right, so I've already tested this. The D16 settings do not work on European firmware, so therefore we have to do a little bit of a fix later on to make this work. What we're going to do is we're going to log into Betaflight to get this up and running. We can then go into the CLI and we can enter FrSky_bind. That will put the flight controller into bind mode. So if I now flick over to my Tyrannus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate one of my profiles that has already got a D8 setting on it. So luckily I've got one of those. Don't know quite why this is an issue. Used to have this problem. It used to be fine, I could add it, but now I can't since I'm running on the most recent firmware. So I've just made a copy of that profile. It's going to give it quickly rename it because it doesn't really matter what I'm going to call it because I'm not going to use it for anything at this moment in time. So usual bits and pieces on FrSky, just change some details and away we go. Right, so then I'm looking for the bind command. If I can go down, there we go. Go find the bind command on the list, and I then need to put it into bind mode. Where is it? There is it. There we go, it's in bind mode now. So if I now go and have a quick look, as you can hear it's beeping. So if I now go and look at the camera and look at the flight controller, you can see it's flashing green, which means it has bound. So what I'm then going to do is I unplug the flight controller. Well, I'm going to reset the flight controller, and that will then lock those settings in. So that is as simple as it is for binding. Right, so I did have some footage for this, but the footage turned out to be terrible, so I didn't want to use it. So what I'm going to do is describe what I did to test this. So I took an XM Plus and the F411-One Flight Controller and test them for range. Now what I did was I placed them in the back of my car, sitting up a little bit, with the antennas as good as I could, and I then went for a walk with my transmitter until I lost signal. So what I did was I started around about here. The XM Plus was, I walked along and managed to get about to here, so probably around about 200 meters, 250 meters maybe, from the car before it lost signal. When I took the F411-One out, I was really impressed. I managed to walk all the way down here, and actually it started getting a little bit wiggy about here and probably wouldn't want to fly much further than that, but I managed to get to around about here before I really lost signal. Now that's quite impressive. I was really impressed with the range of that. So if you're looking for something that's not long range like a Crossfire, but for a range of a standard FrSky system, that is a really, really good range. Right, as I said, this is going to be a two-part video. So this one is about binding and the range. I'm really impressed with the range so far, really, really good. And it did seem quite sensible in terms of how it bound. Now, it's not got D16 in the European version, but I'm sure I can live with that. I'm not going to have many problems. I don't need many channels. So next part will be me building this, but at the moment you can pick these up for around about 30 quid from Banggood. There are other places you can get them, and they are pretty impressive. So I'll see you next time when I put this into a frame.